So, in season 5 of Better Call Saul, Jimmy McGill is now a lawyer again and has changed his practicing name to Saul Goodman, and he now is essentially a fully fledged crooked lawyer, or thereabouts. Where in previous times he would outrage Kim with his legally questionable methods, their relationship regarding his wicked ways went from there to Kim silently angry to her now wanting Jimmy not to have any secrets and to tell her what he's been up to, no matter how much she might not like hearing what he has to say. But then things start to slowly change. It seems Jimmy's corrupting influence, much like Chuck reiterated many seasons ago, is contagious, and Kim finds herself more drawn to his ways than she would like, with it being a perfect escape for her from the boredom of Mesa Verde, where she spends time kicking senior citizens out of their homes. Meanwhile, a villain introduced in the previous season, Lalo Salamanca, is becoming a big factor, having essentially replaced the invalid Hector, and who, like Hector, is out to get Gus Fring, hoping to chip away at his business until Fring is seen as not worth the time by Don Eladio. Gus, however, is making moves of his own, having blackmailed Lalo's man Nacho, knowing that he poisoned Hector, and threatening Nacho's father. Nacho is put in an ever so difficult situation with having to gain Lalo's trust, feed information to Gus, and keep his father and himself alive and well. In one storyline, Nacho has Jimmy become the attorney of one of Lalo's men who may go to prison for drugs. Jimmy is told by Lalo to give the man information on drug site drops, so he can use this as leverage with the cops, and those drops happen to be all of Fring's, who must decide whether to sacrifice the money and have Lalo in no doubt he has a man on the inside, or to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. And before you know it, Jimmy is defending the dangerous and unpredictable Lalo himself on a murder charge, being sent on a particularly memorable episode to the Mexican border to collect bail money. He's ambushed by cartel members. Mike swoops in and takes care of the baddies, and all of a sudden, the duo now find themselves in the middle of the desert with minimal water, fighting the elements to stay alive. It felt like the show's version of the famous Pine Barren episodes of The Sopranos, where Paulie and Christopher get lost in the woods. In my review of Season 1, I said that I hoped the focus on the cartels and drug kingpins wouldn't be so much that attention is taken away from the titular character, and in previous seasons, Season 4 especially, Better Call Saul mitigates the issue by having both storylines run parallel, allowing them to do their own thing. In this season though, before you've even realized it, everyone's story, Jimmy's, Kim, Mike, Lalo, Gus, it has all merged and effortlessly become one, climaxing with Lalo escaping an assassination attempt and presumably launching himself into a war with Gus for Season 6. Season 5 essentially builds on what has come before in terms of story, presentation, which is just as creative as ever, like that bit with the ants all over the ice cream, and character. Jimmy, for instance, is becoming more and more distant. I'm starting to know what he's about less and less, and liking him less and less. There's a scene where he's outside a courtroom practicing a pitch to another attorney, saying, "Suzanne, I think we have something in common. Suzanne, I think we have something in common. Suzanne, I think we have something in common." And it's somewhat unnerving. Everything about him is a performance, is a front. Jimmy, Saul, Gene, what do you even call this guy? It's like his entire life is riding off moments of peacocking and bravado, his only real strong traits, his self-assurance and confidence, which itself is an act and which by the end of Breaking Bad he also lost. Much of what I didn't like about this season is not exclusive to this season. At this point, they're staples of the series. Things like it being a very slow show, more so than it needs to be, I think. People sitting in cars, staring at people, and montages. Lots and lots of montages. I'm at a stage where I think I'm getting PTSD now with these montages. Whenever there's a quiet scene of a character thinking to themselves, and then the music kicks in, I know I'm going to be subjected to 5 to 10 minutes of someone doing the same thing over and over again. And much of the time, the show does not tell you until a long time after of what the montage is actually about. What is Saul doing here? What is he working towards? Not quite sure, so the montages aren't quite as impactful as they could be, and as they are on rewatches. There's also something else that's been bugging me ever since the Breaking Bad days. Something off that I could never quite put my finger on, and I think I know what it might be. Pretty much every speaking role on the show is from a major character, and sometimes, for the sake of the story, a minor character will appear here and there, maybe being a significant part of an episode. But the lack of background characters and the uber focus on the primary ones, I don't know, it makes both shows feel a little isolated. Like, is Gus literally the only thing the Salamancas and the cartel has going on? I'd appreciate a few throwaway lines where some of the cartel members discuss other adversaries and issues they have, just to add a bit of world building and to make the universe not feel so small and focused on the primary characters. But anyway, I really enjoyed this season, and season 5 sets the stage for the ultimate showdown that is season 6 and the final season of Better Call Saul.